Hello everyone, my name is Ifuma Moluru. Welcome to my fashion channel, and it's great to have you all here again with me once more. And today's lesson promises to be really exciting. I'm going to be teaching you or showing you how to cut a beautiful party lace dress made the Nigerian style. It's going to be a lace dress fitted, padded with a bustier cut and with a detachable train. Isn't that exciting? Yes, I'm excited to get started. So for this particular tutorial, I'm going to be using this beautiful lace. As you can see, it's really nice sequined lace, and to make this particular style, I'm going to be using 3 yards of the lace because it's going to be a small size, and I have my lining because to make a dress like this you really need to get a matching lining. You could decide to choose any of the colors on your lace. So for this particular lace dress tutorial, I'm going to be using the darker shade on my lace. So to get started, you need to get this lining and another lining for the inside. So every lace material like this needs to be padded twice, and needs to be lined twice. One with the lace and the second lining to cover the stitches. So are you ready for today's class? If you are, I am, and let's get started. But before I get started, don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I post a new video every Sunday. So what do you need to do? All you need to do is to subscribe, turn on your notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos as they drop, and please don't forget to give a thumbs up. So see you in class. Let's get going. So to cut, I'm going to be using the satin to cut the dress. After I've used this to cut the bustier part of the dress, I'll now cut on the lace and on the lining. So let's cut this first. So I'm just going to fold enough to have for the front panel of our dress. It's going to be a size 10 dress. So I don't need to fold too much, just enough to take care of the hip and the length. So I'm going to fold and adjust accordingly. So the hip is there 41.5, so we'll be somewhere there. So I still have extra like 3 inches, which is okay because I would take 2 inches away at some point and I don't want us to run into any problem. So I'm just going to fold that way. So this part, you start cutting from the folded part, and that's this part of the dress. So I'm going to measure 4.5 all the way, 4.5 from that folded point, 4.5 all the way down, 4.5, 4.5. Okay, so I need about 48 inches long dress. So let me get that so I can cut what I need out of the fabric, so it allows for more flexibility. 48. So I'm going to do, since this is the lining, I'm going to do like a 46. So just get your ruler and make your drawing because it's important for clarity. So you do that all the way to the bottom. Okay, so that's your base for starting your bustier cuts. So now, before I get to do any other thing, I'm going to get the breastpoint from the top of the fabric I've marked now. From this point, I'm going to get the breastpoint and the underbust. So the breast point I need is 10 inches, but I'm not going to do 10 inches. I need to add 1 more inch because of sewing allowance. So I'm going to do 11. So 10 plus 1 is 11. So that's the breast point. Then the other bust supposed to be 13 and a half, the under bust, but I'm going to add 1 inch. Sorry, not 1 inch, it's 1 inch. So it's going to be 14 and a half instead of 13 and a half. So just get your ruler and make a straight sewing, a straight drawing that way. Okay, so everything is clear when you start making your curve. Then next, what am I going to do? I'm going to get my shoulder. Now the shoulder for this dress is 15, but normally when you want to sew, you need to add 1 extra inch. So instead of 15, I'm going to do 16, which is 16 divided by 2. Now from that point, I'm going to get my armhole, which is 8, and I'll do 8 and a half. Okay, now just get your ruler as well. Then you make your curve that you normally make for your armhole. So that's your armhole. Now I won't bother about the neck or any other thing. Now I'm not going to cut this. I'm just doing this to give me a clearer picture of what I need to do. Now we need to start making our curve for the bustier cut. So from the bottom where you have the under bust, I'm just going to take off 2 inches, as you can see. So from this point, I'm going to make the bustier cut like you normally have the curve for the bust area. So from that point, now I'll come out to the armhole. So you see a nice curve there. So that gives you your curve. So you can always work to perfect it. You can draw until it's perfected. At this point here is the bust point, but you shouldn't make it too sharp. It needs to be curved. So you need to draw in a way that you get your curve, and that's what I've done. So this 2 inches here is what you cut off to form that bustier cut. Now I'm going to come back here and I'm going to take away 2 inches as well. So I'm going to do that. I've marked there from this point to this point 2 inches. So I'll come back to my breast point and I'll start tracing outward again. So you need to trace in such a way that you still have your shoulder measurements, and that was why I had to trace all this before I start making my cut. So you have your 2 inches here, you have your 2 inches here. By the time you take off those fabric in the middle, you're going to get your cut when you stitch together. So now I'm going to now get my ruler and I'm just going to make like the dot drawing all the way there. You don't come too sharply like this, no. You need to just go systematically, and that's why it's kind of pointed, so your sewing or your drawing can be seamless when you start sewing. So we're going to cut all this off when we start sewing, when we start cutting. All right, so that's done. So we're ready to cut. It's easy. You don't cut the neckline until you've sewn the body or the panel, the body dress panel. The neckline and the armhole are the last things you do before you start sewing. Okay, so what I like to do also sometimes, I like to take away a little from that side. That way it makes my bustier more accentuated. Just a little, like a quarter of an inch into this this part we took out earlier. You know it was 4.5. So when I take off this part, it's no longer up to 4.5, so it's going to be less. When I do that, it gives me a sharper bustier. Okay, so now I'm going to cut. Okay, then I'll come here too. So I just take off what is in between at the top. Okay, that's out. Then I'll take this off too. So when it gets to this point, all you need to do is just cut out. You just cut straight along the line. Sorry, I didn't get the other part. So we have that. This one is a pattern for the front. That's the other pattern for the front. So I'm just going to open this up all the way to the bottom. Yeah, so it's done. So you need to have these two pieces to start sewing your bustier or your bustier dress. Yeah, okay, so make sure they're even. Come to the bust line and just make it as flat as possible, not too pointed, because if it's pointed you have the same point when you sew. So I just rounded that up without necessarily taking out anything. So now we're going to cut the back panel. So I just take this aside and I get the lining for the back panel. I already cut out what I would need. So what I cut out has to be a little bit wider than what I used in the front. And this is because of the zip allowance. So I'm just going to come back and place the front panel on this. Okay. The part that is folded is where will be closest to the zip, where you have the zip is the middle of your back. So you start placing the middle of the front and the middle of the back together. So what I did here was to leave about 2 inches for zip allowance. So the sides are going to be equal. Okay. Then for this part, all I need to do I don't need to leave this all 2 inches allowance I did in the front because it's the back. All I need is about 1 inch. So I'm just going to place this a little more on the bustier cut. Putting this curve goes in a little more, okay, because we don't want too much excess at the back. So I don't want it to eat into your zip allowance. So I want to leave about 2.5 inches zip allowance. So that's okay. I just want to verify. So it's 2.5 inches all the way. Okay, so you can just get your chalk and just so I can guide you when you cut the back. So starting from this point, I'm going to get my shoulder, this to form the back now. So from this zip, I'm going to take 4.5 first again for the dart. So 4.5, 4.5, all the way to the bottom. This time around, I won't make the bottom wider. I'll just stick to my 4.5. So I'm going to get my ruler and just roll Okay, there we have the straight line. So the next thing I need to do now is to get the shoulder again. Remember, it was 15, but I added 1 inch seam allowance, so I did 16. So I'm going to do the same 16 divided by 2, that's 8, from the seam allowance. So 8. Now the armhole in front, remember I did 8.5, so I'll do the same. So I'll just curve in. Okay, there you have it. And this also, I'm just doing this to guide me. I'm not going to cut off the armhole before I start sewing. So the next step is to get my dart. I need to form my dart. So the back, when I normally take measurements, I take something that is called the back measurement. If you had watched one of my videos where I did how to take a measurement, you will see that there. So the back is the part of your back that goes in the most, that is curved the most. That really helps you to form, you know, a smooth back when you make your dart, so your zip is not bulging. If you follow this trick, then you rarely make a dress that has a bulging zip or allowance M at the back. So for the back is 15.5. So instead of 15.5, I'm going to do 16.5 because 1 inch is for my seam allowance. I'm going to adjust that later. Normally it's 1 inch, half an inch, but I do 1 inch so that I have enough. I don't run into difficulties along the way. So when I'm going to start cutting, I'm going to reduce that to just half an inch, just like the front. So this is that part that the back covers the most. So I'm going to start forming my dart from that point. So what I need to do is to take half an inch this way, half an inch that way. Okay, so all the way to the top. So all I'm going to do now is just take my ruler. As I go higher, it becomes tinier. Okay, like a quarter of an inch, but this way is half an inch. So from that point to about 6.5 inches or 6 inches, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, so that helps me form my dart. So if you do this, because I'm going to cut it out, there's no how after doing this that your back will sit nicely. Then also what I did here, I come to do it at where I have the zip, at the point where I have the zip. So I'll do it from the outer part of the zip allowance. So I'll just come there to where I have the zip allowance. I'll just take off 1 inch. I'll get my ruler again. Then as I go up higher, it becomes half an inch. Then from that point again, so about 6, I just go out there. So I'm going to cut this off. So at this point, it reduces my seam allowance to 1.5. It's a simple trick that works. So I'm just going to take off this part first. So it's as if you have your dart in 2 places. Okay, now I'm going to also do that here. I'm going to take off that area that normally should be for my dart, so that when I'm sewing, it will just be easy. All I need to do is sew and hold like half an inch and I'm good. So I just go on and open up to the bottom. Okay, what I've done there. So you see, this is the dart, and there's another dart there. So you have double dart. So it's really going to sit nicely once the pieces of this dress are put together. So I'm just going to open up the dart to the bottom, and I'm going to also open up this part of the back too. Okay, so that's done. So I'm just going to piece that out. Okay, so then we have our back panel, we have our front panel as well. So just to be, for ease of recognition, to know which part is which, all I need to do to notice the zip allowance, I'm going to notch a little, and for the outer part of the armhole, I'm just going to take off something like that. Okay, a little. So that tells me this is the outer part, this is the inner part. So I'm going to place this now on my lace and my lining and get exact cut before I start sewing. So this is a simple way to cut your bustier dress, and the same technique applies to cutting a bustier top, just that for a top it's shorter. So for my next video, I'm going to teach you how to sew this, how to put all this together. So just take it in and try to understand. And if you have any question, do not hesitate to send me a message, and I'll be glad to help you out. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss my next video, and give it a thumbs up, and stay tuned till I come your way. Thank you for watching. Bye from me till I come your way next Sunday again.